Hello everybody, welcome to the class again. Dear friends, we have been discussing the democratic politics, class 9 NCERT. In the two previous lectures, we have so far covered off the important things related to what is democracy and why democracy. So we have completed the things related to what is democracy, that there we discovered what is democracy, what is the meaning and definition of democracy, and what are the important features of the democracy. So towards the end of the last lectures, we discovered that the different features of democracy, in which we found four important features of the democracy that was hidden inside the definition. So we discovered that democracy is a form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. And there we saw the many different things related to the definitions, and we find out the different features of democracy. So first one being that in a democratic government, the major decisions are being taken off by the rulers who are elected by the people. The second features being, now in a democracy, it is based on free and fair electoral system, where the government who is currently in power must have a free or fair chance of losing. The third point being, we discover one vote, one person, one value. That means it speaks that every individual in a democratic nation should have one vote, and each vote should have one value. And fourthly, in a democratic government, it always rules within the limits established by the constitutions, and the government should have always respect for the rights and duties of the people. So finally we come up to know the second question here: why is democracy? Why is democracy? So after the brief recap of the previous lectures, I came up to the final question of the second question: why is democracy, or why do we need democracy? So dear friends, as you know, argument is going on that why the democracy in the present day gaining popularity all over the world. Okay, every country in the world are claiming themselves to be democratic nations. Every country in the world trying to form a democratic country, or they are also projecting themselves as democratic government. So let's see what is the reason behind why democracy is very, very important these days, and why people are running after the democratical form of government. So before going to that, before going to the goodness of democracy, before coming into conclusion of why democracy is so famous across the world, we must have a elaborate discussion about what are the good and bad of democracy, what kind of arguments are putting forward for democracy and against democracy. So this thing we will discover as the merits and demerits of democracy. So first we will know what are the wrong thing or wrong side we see in a democratical form of government. So here you see the cons of democracy. The first point being the cons or the argument against the democracy. So here it speaks of the leaders keep changing in a democracy, leading to instability. Leaders keep changing in a democracy, leading to instability. Here this argument says that as in a democratic nations, elections are always being always being holder in every alternate or every 3 or 4 years election is being conducted. So therefore there is no stability in governance. This argument speaks of. So here you try to understand me what I am saying, that leaders keep changing. In a democratic form of government, leaders keep changing. The first point being leaders keep changing because elections are conducted every now and then. So there will not be political stability in the country. Second one is democracy is all about political competitions and power play, leaving no scope for morality. Here again it is says that as the democracy is always based on competition and power play, as it is based on elections. So people have to compete for one another. They do not look for the greater interest of the country. They do not take care. They do not take care of the greater interest of the nation. It is being said here. The second point says that it based on competition and power play. So there is no scope for moral. People can do anything to snatch the power or to hold in the power, to become in the power. Then third argument is says is many people have to be consulted in a democracy that leads to delays. Many people have to be consulted. As you know, democracy is based on consent and consultation. Therefore it has to suppose a law is to be made, then it has to be passed through different stages, through different agencies, through different organizations. Let's take the example of the Indian Parliament. Suppose a bill is passed in the Parliament. A bill is commence in a particular house called Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha. Then if it is discussed in the Lok Sabha, then it will be forwarded to the Rajya Sabha. Then finally it will go to the President of India, and if it gets the sanction of the President of India, it becomes law. So therefore here it has been commented that it leads to delays, but this is not like that of the autocratic rulers or the one party ruler like China, and autocratic rulers like the people in the historic time, many powerful people like Hitler, we saw Pinochet, like Musharraf. We saw that their decisions were not delaying, but we saw also their bad thing as well, that they were exploiting the people, they were giving no respect for the rights of the people. So we will discuss in the another in merits, we will see that thing. So this has been this thing has been showed at demerit here, that it takes delay. Then elected leaders do not know the best interest of the people, resulting in bad decision. Fourth argument here is elected leaders do not know the best interest of the people. Here it has been said that elected leaders, the people who represent the people, they do not know the best interest of the people. They do not know that what is the requirement of the people. They simply suppose have you ever seen your MLAs and MPs? They often visit to your areas. They discuss with the people of their locality. So it is rarely seen. So therefore it has been put forward as and negative aspect of democracy, or negative characteristics of democracy. Then another one is democracy leads to corruption since it based on electoral competitions. So another point has been said that democracy leads to corruption since it based on electoral competition. As you know, sometime election based on fraud and malpractices. People even use dirty tricks in order to win the power, in order to capture the power in the governance. So therefore it has said that it based on electoral competition, and it can lead to corruption. Then another thing has been a very important thing here, that all ordinary people, the common people, the laymen, they do not know what is good for them, and they should not decide anything. So it has been said here, in some way it appears to be logical but it not good, because the democracy government also promises political equality. However, it is saying that the ordinary people, the illiterate people, should not take part in the governance. Okay, so therefore it has been said here that illiterate people or ordinary people should not take part in the governance because they do not know what is right and wrong. So take in case of India. In the case of India, many people, many political leaders try to buy the votes during the elections time. Some people hold meetings and they distribute money, as well as they arrange party for the common people in order to gain their support during the election, okay, or to be voted for them. So from these arguments we can see that democracy of the kind we see may not be the ideal form of government, but however it appears that democracy is not the ideal form of government because of this kind of demerit it has. But can you find any better option? Do you have any better option for any other form of government like monarchical, dictatorship, autocracy, one party system? Do we rely upon them? No. Do we rely for quick decision for an autocratic rule? Will we favor the autocratic rule for quick decision? No, not at all, because we do not have the right to vote. We do not have to speak for our rights, for our demands. So as you see in case of Robert Mugabe, he was very popular, but he put a lot of restrictions on medias among the rights of the people. He amended the constitution so many times. So this kind of thing can be happen. So in some way democracy is a very better form of government if we compare to all other form of the government of the world. However, we will see if the democracy is better than other forms of government that are for us to choose from. So now we will discover that why democracy is very, very popular across the world, and why we should or what kind of arguments is given for or in favor of democracy. So what kind of arguments are put forward for the democracy? Why people say that there must be a democratical form of government? So here you can get a clear pictures that why democracy is very, very important. So dear friends, आप लोग देखिए इधर, a democratic government is a better government because it is more accountable form of government. It has been said a democratic government is better form of government because it is more accountable. Accountable means now it is more answerable to the people who have elected him, who have elected the representatives. So this kind of thing cannot be seen in an autocratic rule. You cannot. Pervez Musharraf was not answerable to the people. Robert Mugabe was not responsible to the people. Okay, but in a democratic government, you can question the MLAs and MPs. You can question the representative that what kind of work they are doing in their constituencies. And if they cannot explain you properly, then you simply change the government. You will simply not vote for them in the next election. So this is the system we can see in a democratic government. If the rulers are not able to perform their duty properly, or if they are not responsible, if they are not accountable before the constituencies or before the people or before where they have been elected, right? So here you can also say the better form of government. Here take the example of India and China. Famines in 1958 and 1961, while China was hit badly, India did not fare as badly. So China could not handle the famine in 1958 and 1961. In between the time 1958 to 1961, China could not mitigate the problem in a very systematic way, but India could, because a number of political parties, a number of opposition parties are there. People have the right to raise concern for the issues. So what happened? The opposition party guide and sometimes criticize the government, so things can be very better in a democratic form of government. But China is not responsible. China has only one party system, only the communist rule in the country. So this is the example that this is the difference between a democratic country and non-democratic country, that how they take or approach the problem in different way. Despite its economic condition, India was not stable economically at that time, but because of democratic government, it could solve the problem of that time in a very good way. Reason for this could be that India responded to the food scarcity in a way that Chinese government did not. Here we can see that democracy is better than any other form of government in responding to the needs of the people, as what I explained earlier. Second, democracy improves the quality of decision making. So this is just opposite to the process of delaying of decision making. So an argument was placed that democracy leads to delays in decision making, but it doesn't delay, it actually improves the quality of decision making. What does it do? Now it improves the quality of decision making, because we have to interpret in different stages before it become a law. A bill is passed, okay, the law before coming into it comes in the form of a bill in the parliament or in the legislature. Then debate and discussion goes on among the members of the house. Then it again goes to the second house and they talks upon that thing. And finally, when you get the sign of the President of India or the head of the country of the democratic nation, then only it becomes a rule or act. So democracy is based on consultation and discussion. A democratic decision always involves many people, discussion and meeting, and they are able to point out possible mistakes in any decision. This may take time. However, the advantage of taking time over important decisions is that it reduces the chances of rash or irresponsible decision. So thereby a democratic nation can avoid the irresponsible decision. So here you can find that how it is important to take decisions, how it is important to make a law after a long debate and discussion in the parliament or in the legislature. Third, democracy provides a method to deal with differences and conflict. My dear friends, as you know, India is a country with a diverse community, race, color, ethnic, language, so and so thing. So democracy, as you know, providing all the people or treats all the people in equal manner. They are giving the political equality through the written constitution of the country or through the constitution of the country. It has judiciously shared the power among the different organs, among the different social groups, among the different organization of the country. So therefore it can also deal with the diverse society in a very good way. Rest of the thing you will discuss about this thing in class 10th also. Okay. So dear friends, listen to this. Democracy provides a method to deal with differences and conflict. If you have any doubt, you can see class 10 lecture also. I have uploaded already in my channel. You can go to this and you can have a better idea if you are eager to learn this thing. Then see, democracy provides a method to deal with the differences and conflict. In any society, people are bound to have differences. It's very common thing that in a society we have diverse opinions and interests, different community and different way of behaving, different taste. These differences are particularly more in a country like ours with amazing social diversity. People belong to different regions, speak different languages, practice different religions, and have different castes. So the preferences of one group can clash with those of other groups. So what happened actually? Now while the government take decisions, it must not be preferential to any particular group. All the people should have the equal benefit from the government decision. They should be equally affected by the rules of the government. So, and this is happen very properly in a democratic government. So democracy provides only peaceful solution to this problem. In a democracy, no one is permanent winner or loser. Different groups can live with one another peacefully. So we can find the social harmony in a democratic country, and this is because of the judicious division of power among the different groups of the country. So I hope you are enjoying, you are feeling enlightened also. So come up again and see the next point. Democracy enhances the dignity of citizens. Dear friends, as you know, democracy also promises different rights to the citizens, different rights to the individuals of the country. Democracy is based on the principle of political equality. That means it says that all the people, irrespective of their background, like caste, creed, color, differentiation, all are equal before the law. They can cast the vote, they may rich, poor, or whatever background they belong to, they have the right to choose their representatives. So this way it improves the dignity, it enhances the dignity of the citizens. It recognizes that the poorest and the least educated have the same status as the rich and the educated. So you also know the story of Kanta and his boss, how they were standing in the same row in the class 7, Hana. So that time you saw they both, all the rich persons, Kanta, the housemaid, was standing on the same row while casting the vote. So they are in some way equal in a democratic nation. And also we have provision in the constitution that the government will take initiative in order to prepare a parallel society in the country, both economically and socially. So we have also made certain provisions in the constitution of the country, like reservation policies. A lot of upgrading efforts have been made. A lot of provisions have been made for the upgradation or upliftment of the different weaker sections of the society and the minority sections of the society. So here democracy is, why I'm saying so, because we are reading the democracy in the context of the Indian democracy, right? So democracy is better than other forms of government because it allows to correct its own mistakes. Another thing is there that it allows to correct its own mistakes. Dear friends, it is very obvious that man, it is mistakes is human, and to err is human. That means it is very obvious for any person to make mistakes in life. So democracy may also sometimes make some wrong decisions, but when people raises a voice against the laws, again the government rethinks, and it may also scrape the law, or it may also abolish the law again. Even if no government can guarantee that no one will know that no mistakes will be made, in a democracy one can be sure that it will not be hidden for long too. This is what I told you. It makes space for public discussion on these mistakes. There is also room for correction. Rulers have to change their decision, or they could themselves be changed. This is what I told you about all this thing. I have written here only to find my words here, right? I know the thing, but to find my words I have written here. so that I can explain better. And beside this, democracy is based on the principle of law. It is always have to follow the rules established in the constitutions. And this is also I written here, all are equal before the law. All are equal before the law. These are extra point I have written here to give you more ideas to taken up the question in a very easy way. Thus we can correctly infer that, now we can understand, now we can decipher that while democracy may not be the solution to all problems, it is still clearly better than any other alternatives. However, it may not be the ultimate solution, but we feel that it is the best form of government across the world in compared to all other forms of the government in the world. And now the final thing we will be discussing, and briefly this is the broader meanings of the democracy. So far we were talking democracy in the context of governance, in the context of government, but now we will think it beyond the government, beyond the democratic government. We will try to see this democracy in the different sphere of our life, in the different arena of our life, in the different sectors of our life. So in this chapter, the meaning of democracy discussed in a descriptive sense, and it was completely related to the government. Students can learn about the democracy as a form of government, thus helping them to identify a clear set of minimal features that democracy requires. So why it has been said here actually that we learn so far about the meaning and definition about the different features of democracy only because to differentiate the government across the world, in order to differentiate the government across the world, that what is a democratic government and what is not a democratic government, or what is a non-democratic government. So we saw the case of China, Mexico, Zimbabwe, Pakistan, and we saw that they were lacking certain features of the democracy. So the common form adopted by democracy is representative democracy. Representative democracy is the major features in a democratic government, because earlier democratic government was very direct democracy, where all the people sit together and taking important decisions of the nation. But in this time where we have vast population, we have a lot of population, so how can we sit together and take decision? So therefore we are adopting the representative form of government. This is called indirect democracy. There are two kinds of democracy, direct democracy and indirect democracy. In the ancient time it was in Greece, and now even in the Switzerland also following direct democracy even today, but not that exactly the direct democracy that same like that. Switzerland is still now following the direct democracy, and earlier time Greece was following the direct democracy, where all the people sit together like panchayat, right? Like a village gram sabha, people sit together and they discuss important decisions. So suppose some people sit together to construct the prahari mandap, to construct temple, like this, right? So or maybe masjid or maybe anything. Okay, so all people do not rule. A majority allowed to take decisions on behalf of all the people. A majority is allowed to take decision on behalf of the people through elected representative. But things now have got changed. We are sending our power, we are sending our decisions through our representatives. Suppose you are from the Banjanagar and you have sent someone, Aruk Sama, right? Aruk sir, to the state legislature to represent the country, to represent your constituency or areas. So that means you, whatever your decisions, whatever decision he will take, that means that is the will of this area, that is the wishes of this area. So this has become necessary for the regions given below. Why it is necessary? Modern democracy involves such a large number of people that it is physically impossible for them to sit together and take a collective decision. So my dear friends, I am clear here. Even if they could, the citizen does not have time, the desire or the skill to take part in all the decisions. People are also now very busy and they cannot have time to sit together to have discussion as well. So this was the thing, and democracy as a principle can go beyond the government and can be applied to any sphere of life. This can be a democratic class, can be a democratic family, can be a democratic organization, and so on, so thing. Democratic society, everything. Suppose I am your teacher and I am teaching a lot of things in the class, and it is my responsibility to make the class a democratic one. If I am only allowed to speak in the class, then the class will be very bogus and boring, isn't it? Suppose I am teaching you right now through YouTube, so this can be a little bit boring. Suppose we are directly interacting in the class, then this will be more funny, more easier to understand the concept clearly. Suppose wherever any problem, you can directly ask me the question, but through this way this cannot be a democratic class. The online class cannot be a democratic class, but once I will be on live, then I will make it a democratic class. Okay, I promise you. So this shall be soon done. Okay, सो डेमोक्रेसी एज, सो इस टाइम क्या करना है आपको, सब्सक्राइब कर देने से मेरा हो जाएगा, राइट. सो आई विल कम लाइव एंड teach you on. Okay, it will become a democratic class. So this is the concept I wanted to tell you, and